Clarifications, please. Ms. Tin Pei Ling.
谢谢各位部长的回复。我在这里有2方面的这个疑问。第一呢，就是新加坡在实现我们数码经济还有智慧国的这个愿景这方面呢是势在必行，但是在我们的这个新加坡群体里面，我们仍然有那么一代的这个长辈们，他们对于这个数码的掌握、数码知识还有这个技巧的掌握呢，可能还需要我们的大力帮助。那我想请问政府呢，要如何采取比较针对性的这个策略来根据我们对象群体他们可能所面对的挑战还有需求，针对性的帮助他们克服这个或者是怎么说迎接这个数码未来的到来。这是第一个问题，想多了解。第二个问题呢，我是想问，就是这个政策的这个沟通其实是一门艺术。那刚才早前部长有向大家分享说，我们通过可能比如说一些这些多媒体或者是这个电视节目，来把一些重要的政策的主要讯息传达给我们的这个国民。那尤其是我们长辈们，又回到长辈们这一边，那比如说这些电视的一些节目呢，可能只是一次性的，所以有些比较重要的一些解释啊、讯息啊，可能就因此而错过。那我想请问一下，政府会有哪一些其他的一些策略或者是一些项目呢，可以更深入的就是把这些重要的讯息重复性的带到我们的这个社区里的各角落，让更多的国人，尤其是我们的长辈们，更能够了解为什么有些政策这些政策是考量了有过哪一些的考量而拟定的。这样子呢，我认为呢，不但让我们的这个国人更了解我们政府在做决定的这个思想过程，而且也可以在就是让他们在了解之后更大力的支持我们政府的政策。希望部长可以做一些解释，谢谢。
谢谢陈佩玲女士的提问。刚才提到说怎么样帮助年长国人更好的掌握数码科技，确实我们希望所有的新加坡人也包括我们的年长者都能够有机会赶上数码时代，成为数码达人。那么在课程还有在培训方面，我们应该说是为年长者采取2个重点。第一个就是我们注意到不少的年长者他们还是比较习惯用母语进行学习，因此我们有不少的课程也是用华语。也可以用马来语或者是淡米尔语进行的。另外一点呢，就是这个课程的设置必须要适合初学者，不能够节奏太快。所以呢，这2个是重点。那么我也想借这个机会介绍一些具体的一些培训课程和培训计划，这就包括了资讯媒体发展局 IMDA 他们所发起的银发族资讯站 Silver Infocom Junction， 这个资讯站呢，其实在全岛有30多个不同地点，有些是在我们的民众俱乐部，有些是在图书馆。那么在一个很舒适的环境里面，能够让我们的年长者能够很轻松的学习有关数码或者是资讯科技这一方面的信息。另外呢，我们还有这个基本数码的一些技能课程，这些呢也是通过同我们的这个资讯媒体发展局还有一些其他的合作伙伴推出一些基本的一些培训课程。另外也有流动性的这个数码诊所，在不同的地点和时间为年长者提供1对1的指导，因为我们也知道许多的年长者他可能更希望能够1对1的同指导员一起坐下来好好学习，所以这一类的这个数码诊所我们也有提供。此外在8个民众联络所还有俱乐部呢也有科技联系站。那么在这些联系站，我们请人协的柜台职员也来为我们的居民提供1对1的这个电子设备或者是电子服务方面的协助。那此外图书馆自身也有一个Seniors Tech and Read乐读智新项目。 那么通过这样子的一个项目呢，主要是让年长者学会怎么样的借阅电子书，怎么样的利用网络。那么刚才我们所介绍的很多的这个电子书的方便，我们希望年长者呢也可以享受到，也可以运用自如。提到这个政策的沟通。以及怎么样的同民众交流，这个确实也是我们部门一直在努力的方向。其实我在这里呢也鼓励我们许多的这个国会的同僚善加运用我们的财政部所提供的各种有关，比方说我们的财政预算案的各类的信息资料。现在应该说找到这种4种。语言所发布的这个资料应该说是越来越多，而且内容也越来越丰富。那么我们也希望说通过不仅是书面的讲解，我们的财政部现在也提供了这个幻灯片，PPT 的幻灯片，而且呢还有配音，那么能够让国人更好的能够运用，能够更好的能够理解一些不同政策。能够有人声讲解，我觉得这是我们一类的尝试。那么它可以配合一次性的电视节目或者是电台节目，然后能够加深民众对于很多重要课题的印象。
Mr. Darrow David.
2 points of clarification. First point, I believe, should be for SMS SIM-N because it pertains to the library and digital books. Just wanted to ask the SMS, could she perhaps update on some trends in e-books or digital book borrowing? And do you see a trend in e-books or digital books perhaps even outstripping conventional publications of books in the long run? Second point of clarification is for, I believe, could be for Minister. I did attend the National Archives exhibition, Minister, and I really have to commend the National Archives team on a wonderful job that was done. I was wondering if the National Archives could perhaps engage other government agencies, say the Ministry of Education, for example, to ensure that all the excellent work that has been done could also be shared with our students in primary school and secondary school. In the past, I believe this would involve an excursion to the National Archives building itself, and I believe that might be the case for some material, but I believe much of what I saw was digitalized and can be brought onto screens and brought into the schools. So is that something that perhaps the Minister could consider in terms of exposing more of our younger Singaporeans to all of this rich history? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Darrow David, for your question on e-books. Indeed, we have seen very rapid growth in the use of e-books amongst our library users. From 2017 to 2018, the digital loans have almost quadrupled from about 1.5 million such loans to 5.8 million loans in 2018. However, this remains a fraction when compared to the physical loans, which in 2018 stood at about 33 million. So I think it's a situation in which e-books and e-loans are growing very rapidly, but I would say that physical books are still very dominant. Now, as to whether one will outstrip the other, I think that remains to be seen. But I think what's clear is that NLB very much should be with the e-books trend to ensure that while they take care of readers who prefer physical books, at the same time we have to ensure that our collections of e-books and newspapers and magazines continue to be enriched.
Mr. Leon Pereira, Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it's actually a very useful seg from SMS Ann's earlier reply. In fact, the digital platforms are very effective in reaching certain demographics. And the growth in e-books and the borrowings has largely been driven by a younger demographic. But I think in general, as SMS Ann says, book borrowings and physical books also continues to hold its own. So I think we are in a good situation, and we want to encourage the reading habit through whichever channels in order to broaden the reach. And in that vein, your second question about archives, we agree with you fully. In fact, the archives have a very rich treasure trove of information, And one of the things that we're doing in the course of this year, as I highlighted, is really digitalizing the content and then finding ways to propagate it with the larger population. And so videos, which will be put out by NLB through its platforms, is going to be one important channel. In fact, much of the material is already available on archives. Archives material is available digitally. So I think we will certainly pursue the option of seeing how we can go in a more targeted way, for example, to schools. But at the same time, I would just urge all members to also propagate the message. I'm sure all of you have downloaded the NLB app and are using it actively. And I hope that you will then also continue to share that experience with all your constituents and others that you're interacting with. Thank you.
Mr. Leon Pereira.
Thank you, sir. I just have one point of clarification for the SMS, Ms. Sim Ann, and I thank the SMS for her detailed response to my speech on publishing opinion polls. So and from the SMS's reply, she cited some examples of opinion polls that have been released. I assume that some of these government opinion polls are for internal reference and are not released. So my point of clarification would be, what would be the concern or impediment or issue with making a more general rule to release the results of all of such surveys, unless there are strong reasons not to, such as national security, such as sensitive issues or so on and so forth, so as to release that information to the public domain for stakeholders to use. Thank you.
I thank Mr. Leon Pereira for his question. As I've mentioned just now in the speech, the government releases results of surveys that may be of interest to the public. And as for the kind of reasons that he has shared earlier, indeed, these are some concerns because some of the surveys may touch on issues with regards to security, or it may affect market sentiments on specific sectors. So these would be some of the reasons, for instance, why not all survey results would be released to the public.
Ms. Rahayu Mazam.
Thank you, Chairman. I have a question for SMS Janil. He had earlier given a very descriptive plan of the cybersecurity state of affairs in Singapore, and I wanted to just understand a little bit more about how we are actually assessing or measuring our savviness of our people, in dealings in cyber world, because it would be useful to actually understand where are some of the weak points, and what you've mentioned earlier about issues with regards to using lax passwords, phishing and all that. Clearly there are some areas where we could improve on, and I appreciate that the efforts with the Media Literacy Council as well as with NLB, sure, but are there some areas that we could look at and how we can measure and assess and target some of the efforts so that we can improve cybersecurity in Singapore?
Mr. Chairman, I thank Mr. Rahayu Mazam for the question. So you asked about how do we assess the savviness with respect to the cyber. Actually, it's a very difficult thing to measure because the technology is moving quite rapidly, and the kind of products and services that are being developed are also not thought of today. I mean, people are imagining new business models. You don't really know what will catch fire. In a way, we try to by looking to see when things go wrong. So, scams or cyber breaches or theft of information and so forth. So we can measure it when things go wrong, but that isn't necessarily a good example of how savvy we are, which is the word that the member used. Internationally, people have tried to develop these measures around knowledge. So how, if you take a poll or a sample, whether they're secondary school students or early adults or across the population segment, what do people know about it? Then you can perhaps also look and see, for example, what are the products and services that businesses would use, and either knowledge within the business community or the use of protective technologies within the business community. And people have tried to come up with these types of measures. And on these types of measures, we come out very well. But that's not something to sort of pat ourselves on the back and assume that there'll be no problem. Actually, we do have to keep reminding ourselves. The key issue is really human behavior and the social factors. In a way, technology is the easier thing to measure, so we can do, for example, penetration testing, we can do audits of the use of technology, audits about processes with respect to, for example, thumb drives and locking down systems and internet surfing separation. But the much harder thing to measure, assess, and change is human behavior. Don't share your passwords and don't download suspicious material, which is why I took the opportunity to remind members of these few things that we should do. It's something where, like crime, like real-world safety, like road safety, it's sometimes useful to remind and repeat and remind and repeat and use learning opportunities to reinforce good behavior. And I think we have to just keep going down that path.
Mr. Willem.
Thank you, Chairman. I have one clarification for Minister on the issue of personal data protection. One of the points which I raised was about the work of the PDPC in helping to achieve outcomes for complainants. And I believe that in his response, the Minister did say that cases could be referred to mediation. We know that's provided under the Act. It's also provided that the PDPC could direct resolution of a complaint in a way that it considers fit. So I'd like to ask Minister if he can confirm if there have been any cases where these alternate dispute resolution methods have actually resulted in compensation or in a payment of some settlement sum to the complainants, whether he's aware if there have been such cases.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not aware of such cases.
Dr. Teo Ho Pin.
So I'm pleased to learn from SMS Cement that the library is planning to build another 8 to 10 learning pods. I'm just wondering whether is there a plan to build a learning pod in Bukit Panjang Library?
Thank Dr. Teo Ho Pin for being such a strong supporter of the learning pods. We will consider putting one in the Bukit Panjang Library.
Mr. Cedric Foo, would you like to withdraw the amendments?
Chairman, sir, whilst there are many challenges as this House discussed as Singapore embarks on this digital transformation, but as we were also told, the benefits are actually massive. And all of us, as Minister pointed out, would like every stakeholder, government agencies, businesses, workers, and the citizen to join this very exciting journey. So with that, Chairman, sir, I beg leave to withdraw the amendment.
Is the honourable member given leave to withdraw the amendment? I think leave of the majority is given. The amendment is withdrawn. The question is that the sum of $987,540,000 for HQ stand part of the main estimates. As many as are of the opinion say aye. To the contrary, say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. The question is that the sum of $54,080,000 for HQ stand part of the development estimates. As many as are of the opinion say aye. To the contrary, say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it.